Okay, welcome to this class on StoryLab, a peek into how we can use our human design to craft an empowering personal myth. My name is Anna Kinney. My business is called Anna with Intention. And um, this is hosted partly by me and partly by the WBOC. It's what we call a connections meeting where each month a different member of the organization gets to present their expertise through the WBOC's platform. So that's what we're doing here tonight. And so just a quick little bit about me. I am I have a couple certifications. I'm a Reiki master. I am a certified quantum human design and quantum alignment system specialist, practitioner, and a StoryLab facilitator. Quantum alignment system and StoryLab are both trademarked processes, protocols, and programs put forward by my teacher, Karen Curry Parker. She is a human design expert. She's been in the world of human design for 20 plus years. She's been a coach for over 30 years. She has tons and tons and tons of wonderful experience doing all sorts of things. And yeah, she studied directly under the founder of human design, Ra Uru Hu, for many years and created quantum human design, which is a higher vibrational languaging of the traditional language of human design. We're not going to get too much into that tonight, but we are going to get into the presentation here. So just a couple things. I just ask that you stay muted while going through the presentation, but I do like to see your face, so keeping the video on is wonderful. If you're not familiar with Zoom, the mute button is going to be on the lower left-hand side of your screen. If during the presentation you have a specific question, you can hit the reactions button and do the raise your hand, or you can try waving me down in the video, but I might not see you because I have all of this is big on my screen right now. But if you do the reactions button, I'll see the little hand pop up. This should only take about an hour, maybe a little bit less. And anyone that didn't make it live tonight will receive and also those of you that did make it live will receive a little link to this workshop in your inbox probably tomorrow. So you can have it and cherish it forever. If you ever miss my face or my voice, you can just pull it right up. And I will mention this again at the end of the presentation, but I have to mention it now. In 3 days, on November 16th, from 1 to 5 p.m., I am hosting an immersive StoryLab experience that is called Claim Your Main Character Energy. It will be at the Center for Sound and Ceremony, which is located in the Delavan Studios in downtown Syracuse. And if you would like to attend, registration is open until Friday, the 15th at 1 p.m. because I need 24 hours to just put everything together and print out everybody's materials. So there's a link to that in the chat if you would like to check that out and register. It's only $44 for the whole 4-hour immersive. Okay, so all that is out of the way. Now we can get started. So let's just start with what I call a drop-in exercise, where this will take about 3 minutes. So if you would just take a moment and you already look pretty relaxed, ladies, but if you would just relax a little bit more. If you want to lower your eyes or close them, whatever feels good and comfortable for you, and just bring your attention and awareness to your breath. Just noticing how you're breathing right now in this moment. And bringing even more intentionality to each breath in. Just slowing the breathing down, filling the belly completely to a comfortable place, and then exhaling even more slowly than you breathed in. We'll do this for a few more breaths in and out, just gently filling your whole chest cavity with breath. And one more time. And continue breathing comfortably, naturally, as you let your mind drift back over your day to day, or maybe the last few days. And as you just kind of gently scan back over some of the core memories from the last day or two, can you find a moment that brought you a deep sense of joy, peace, or love? Could have been a conversation you had, could have been a really delicious meal, could have been a snuggle session with a pet or a child or a loved one. Could have been the sound of crunching leaves as you walked through them. Whatever moment, big or small, just allow one to come to the forefront and key into that moment. As you zero in and hold on to this moment, this memory, just place your right hand on your heart and just tune in. Where were you? What time of day was it? Was it early or afternoon? How was the light falling? What else is around you in this moment of this memory? And what is the feeling that you were feeling? Joy, peace, love, excitement. What was that feeling? Where does that feeling live in your body in this memory? Does that feeling have a temperature? Is it warm? Is it cool? Does this feeling have a texture? Is it smooth? Is it fuzzy? Is it coarse? Does that feeling have a color? As you continue to explore all the features of this memory of this feeling, allow the feeling to slowly grow and spread within you. Allow it to expand gently until it is completely filling your entire body. And allow this feeling to radiate outwards around you. Continue to focus on this sensation of this feeling as the memory itself fades and all that is left is the feeling. Allow yourself to just bask in this feeling for a few more breaths. And on your next inhale, feel that feeling completely well to its maximum. And as you exhale, allow yourself to ground back into this time and space in this moment. When you're ready, you can open your eyes again. And, wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, and just allow yourself to come back into the body space. So, welcome back. The state you are now in is a state that we call coherence, heart coherence. This is where your brain, your nervous system, and your heart are all synced up at the same measurable frequency. This is an emotional state of peace, love, and groundedness that is low stress and supports the optimal functioning of all your physiological symptoms. When you are in a heart coherent state, you have better access to your fundamental state of creativity and the quantum realm. But before I get too far ahead, start talking about quantum physics, let's do a quick little creativity activity, okay? So with that piece of paper and pen that you have with you, if you have anything else to draw with or other colors, that's fine. But if you just have like a black pen or a pencil, that's fine too. You're going to have 3 minutes to draw something. And as you were drawing it, just make note of any thoughts, sensations, awarenesses that pop into your head, and just jot them down on the side of the page without judgment. Like, just be honest, like what's coming up for you. Even right now, as I'm talking about drawing something, what's coming up for you? Like, what are the thoughts you're having? Are you panicking, or are you like excited, or like what's coming up? So just as you're doing your drawing, as you notice your thoughts, just jot them down on the page. So for the next 3 minutes, I'd like you to draw a tree. Any tree, your tree. Give your tree another 30 seconds. Okay. You don't have to stop drawing. It's not like a pencils down situation, but I'm going to keep going with the presentation. You're welcome to doodle if you do well with kind of doodling and listening at the same time. But if you know you'll have a hard time paying attention, then also do what works best for you. Okay, so we will come back to your tree later, but first I want to tell you a little story. So, oh, Not that long ago, in a land not too far from here, I once was a musician in a band that was called the Chris James and Mama G Band. And Mama G, that was me. And I was in that project for a number of years. And in September of 2018, after a lot of turmoil with the other bandmates and a lot of life personal situations all kind of came to a head at the same time, and I made the decision to leave that band at the end of that summer. It was a very emotional experience. I probably could have handled it much better than I did, and knowing what I know now, I know I definitely could have and would have, but that was me then, and that was just what I did, what I needed to do. So it was not the best, but I'm glad I did leave it finally. And leaving the project was more than just leaving a band. It was leaving behind an entire identity. There was a whole alter ego persona that I had crafted and developed over those 7 years that I was in that band. Being Mama G had become a huge part of who I was and how people knew me. For quite a few weeks after leaving that band, I was in a state of depression that we in the spiritual community call a dark night of the soul. And now, knowing what I know about human design and my energetics in human design terms, it's what I would call being in a deep low of my emotional wave. As all of the pain of the separation and the loss began to lessen after a few weeks, I started wanting to go out to go to shows again and kind of get back into the community. But the most painful part of going to see the music was when I would run into people who knew me and hadn't seen me in a while, and they would say, "Oh, hey, how have you been?" Or "How are you doing?" And if you've ever been depressed, that's like the worst question anybody could ask you, because you're not doing good, but you want to be, you want to be out and about, but at the same time, you're not good. So how do you answer so that you avoid this like really like painful conversation that the person really doesn't want to have with you? They just are being, casual. So you just say, "Oh, I'm okay. I'm good." Right? You just give the like neutral answer, right? So after a few more weeks of this, I got to a point where I was kind of sick of answering that like in that neutral way of just saying good. Eventually, I had the desire to I wanted to start answering with something better than just good. I was tired of just being bleh. So I wanted to feel really great again, and I wanted to feel awesome, and I wanted to feel fantastic and wonderful. So I wanted to truly mean it when people asked me in the moment. I just decided one day that no matter what, anytime someone would ask me that question, I would decide to answer with something better than just good or okay, even if it didn't feel entirely true. And I know this can sound like borderline gaslighty, but really, I'd been in the dark night of the soul. I've been in the depressed state. I gave myself the time and I was just ready to be done with it. But I was caught in that place. So I knew that the best way to pull me out of it was to just start telling a different story. So, if I was ever going to pull myself out of that, I just said, this is what I got to do. So, um, can you guess how long it took of me really making this effort, like really decidedly responding with great or awesome or fantastic every time someone asked me how I was doing? It only took 1 month. which if I was going to a show once or twice a week, that really wasn't that much. There wasn't really that much. It was, maybe 8 or 9 times in a month. I would see a bunch of different people, and they'd ask me how I was doing. And I would just say, I'm awesome. Even if I didn't 100% feel it, I would still say it anyways. I'm great. I'm fantastic. And after 1 month, just 1 month of deciding to just respond in this way, there was a day where I answered and then I actually felt it. And I said, wow, I actually do feel really great. Cool, it worked. Like, I do feel awesome. Thank you. I was just committed to this one tiny piece of my story for 1 month, and it shifted a lot. And I had this profound moment of realization about my identity at this time, that being Mama G, being this persona, wasn't actually what was giving my life meaning. That being in that band is not what gave my life meaning. That it's not the clothes that I wear, it's not the job that I have, and it's not the car that I drive. I'm the one that gives my life meaning. And that it didn't matter all the external stuff. None of it really mattered because I had so much power with how much I decided in how I decided to tell my story. So after this whole, it was like the fall and winter of 2018, I went through this whole process. And then in January of 2019, my now husband, at the time we were just dating, Sean and I, we decided to take our first step together on our spiritual journey. And we both got our Reiki attunements. We did level 1, and then the next month we did level 2 together. And that began a whole new story, a whole new book for me that has led me to this moment now, sharing this story with you. And here's the really wild part too. When I was thinking about wanting to tell this one little piece of my whole story, this little story to you tonight, another story came in over the thought of telling this story that said, this story's not important. I heard a thought in my head, a story that told me that this was stupid. Yeah, why do you want to tell that story? It's not even that big of a deal. Other people have better stories than that. I don't have any better stories to tell than this one. Who even cares? But since that time in 2018, I've done so much work on my own internal stories that when I heard that story come over on top about how it's not an important story, another story came in on top of that that said, ooh, you hear those stories that are telling you not to tell this story? That means it must be good. It must be worth it. And I'm going to share it anyways. And every time I do, I get confirmation from somebody who heard the story, one of you, that they're going through the same thing right now. They're going through some shift in their identity, some loss of self, and they're grieving. And they're hearing all kinds of things about how they shouldn't be, but they're just not true. The words that we speak are so powerful. Maybe you've heard of Dr. Masaru Emoto's work. He's the Japanese researcher who, when him and his assistants spoke words to water and then took pictures of the microscopic crystalline formations, they saw these really interesting things that happened. Have you ever heard of these things? You can shake your heads, yes or no. Yeah. Really, really cool research. And there's been a whole lot more research done by other scientists to support this work. The words we use create our reality. But we also know it's not just saying the words. You can't just say, I want $1 million and poof, that appears, right? You have to say, I want $1 million, and you have to be consistently telling a story about yourself, the main character in your story, that matches your capacity to receive or create that $1 million. If you're saying, I want $1 million, but your sense of self-worth is not strong, you don't love yourself, you don't value yourself, then it's going to be really hard for you to have alignment congruence with your personal story that's going to support you in allowing you to create that $1,000,000. So I want to make sure we're on the same page with how this happens by talking about the four main components of the creation process. Okay. So the first component of the creative process is the quantum field. This is the infinite field of possibilities and potentials that we are just swimming in all the time. It's all around us all the time. You can think about this as the like unmanifested reality. Everything that exists outside of, like, let's say, like, this is like the universe, right? And like you are like a little house somewhere in the universe. Okay. So it's just everything that surrounds that's outside of your home. The next part of the creative process is what we have called the mental and emotional bodies. And what the arrows are pointing to on this little like cool diagram is like, this diagram is like a visualization of like the different layers of our auras. And the mental and emotional bodies are the layers the closest layers to the physical body. They serve as this filter between the quantum field and your physical manifested reality, the physical you. This is the place where you hold all of your life experiences, your ancestral patterns, familial conditioning, memories, beliefs, and your energetic blueprint, like your human design and your astrology. So they're part of this filter. This is like in the analogy of your home. If the quantum field is everything outside your house, then your mental and emotional bodies are kind of like the colors you painted the walls and the drapes you have hanging on the windows. It's the filter that kind of sets the mood of your energetic home. Okay. The next part in the quantum creativity equation is the subtle body. Now, this is kind of like the outermost part of your aura. It's what actually holds the template of your manifested reality in place. This is kind of like the front yard of your home, or like the front porch. It's where things come and go through this part of your field. It's the part of your aura when something new is about to come in or something old has just left. It's still vibrationally matched before it's completely gone or completely manifested. So like this is where when you get a psychic reading or a Reiki healing or any kind of energetic work, they're working on this outer layer of your aura to like clean it up. If something is leaving or on its way out and the vibration of it's still there, a good Reiki session will kind of clear some of that vibration out. The last component, of course, is your actual physical reality. This is what you experience. It's the furniture, the food, the people, the clothing, the knickknacks, everything else that fills up your house, your energetic house. So this is where we're going to bring human design into the equation. So this is another kind of like visual representation of, you have the quantum field of infinite possibilities on the top, you have the manifested physical reality on the bottom, and in between is this filter that holds your human design. And the human design is part of the story that you tell about who you are. So your chart shows us how you're energetically predisposed to interface with the quantum reality and how we can optimize what you create in your life right now. So we're going to do another little experiment. You can like flip your page over that you drew your tree on. And on the next slide, there's going to be a word. And you're going to have just 20 seconds, jot down every word, thought, phrase, feeling that comes up for you when you see this word. Okay. It's just like a little simple word association. Okay. You ready? Okay. 20 seconds. All right, ladies. I'm going to ask you to go ahead and unmute, and I would love to just hear a couple of the things that you two wrote down when you saw the word money on the screen.
Sure. I wrote down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words.
Okay.
Fear, difficult, draining, abundant, freedom.
Hmm.
I wrote down green, free, light, here, access, exchange, debt-free, buy things, home.
Okay. Okay, cool. This is so cool. I love this because the definition of money, when you look it up online, it's very simple. It's very neutral. It's got no emotion to it at all, right? Like all the words you both used, a lot of them have feeling, emotion, sensation involved in them, right? But money is just a current medium of exchange in the form of coins and banknotes. And yet it can bring up so many different thoughts and feelings, right? That's because money is what we call an archetype. All on its own, it's neutral. It's neither good nor bad. It has no emotion to it. It's something that everyone has an experience with at some point in their lives. And by definition, it's just very simple. But hearing all the things that money brings up for you, you can see that we all apply different meanings or tell a story about money based on the emotional experiences we have personally had with it. So I could have picked any word, but this is again the cool thing. This is what happened in your brain. When you saw that word, a chain of events was triggered that started what's called a photon storm. A ton of neurons fired all at once, creating a surge of light in your brain. This surge of light then caused your brain to emit neurotransmitters. Those neurotransmitters then created an emotional reaction that you felt in your body. And what determines the type of emotional feelings that you experience is the meaning that you already have in place, the story that you have already been telling about this neutral archetype, money. So just to summarize, the meaning you have calibrates the emotions you feel. The emotions you feel calibrates the frequency of your heart. And the electromagnetic resonance field of your heart is what is attracting and programming your perspective. So if you have a negative meaning associated with this neutral archetype, it's going to lead you to feel not great feeling emotions, which is going to put you into a non-coherent, semi-stressed state, which puts you into a place of what we call reactive or situational creativity, where you're just reacting to what already exists. If you have positive meanings associated with this neutral archetype of money, you're going to get some really nice feeling emotions. You're going to get put into a coherent, heart coherent state, just like we felt earlier. You'll be in a relaxed state where your body's emitting dopamine and serotonin, which then allows you to have more access to the quantum field or fundamental creativity. So I've mentioned fundamental creativity a couple times. So I'm going to just explain what the difference is really between situational and fundamental creativity. Situational creativity is reactive and in the moment. It can come up with very finite short-term solutions that are usually logical in nature. They come from the mind. It usually comes about in these non-coherent stress states. And can create a feedback loop of feeling stuck because you see what comes up in the physical reality around you, you apply your meaning to it, you then create from the meaning that you already have, and then it keeps you in this kind of like loop. Fundamental creativity, on the other hand, is more imaginative, innovative, and possibility focused. It's where you get these epiphanies that drop in, you have the aha moments. They're kind of illogical, not very easy to explain to the mind. And they come from the heart coherent states where the non-coherent states are where you are in a cortisol stress state. The heart coherent state is when you're in the dopamine and serotonin relaxed state. And this is where you get to tap into these new realities from the quantum field. So we want to be in fundamental creativity. So if the stories that we are telling are keeping us in a state of non-coherence, then over time we wind up manifesting situations and things in our lives that are based on that high stress, reactionary, fear-based state, situational creativity. But if we can shift into a state of heart coherence, which brings us into that fundamental creativity, when we decondition and rewrite the stories or meanings that we are telling, we can really tap into that quantum realm of infinite possibilities and get out of those feedback loops. So this is where your human design, the filter that lives in your mental and emotional bodies within your aura, comes into play. Human design is a tool that gives us a systematic way to find what parts of your story are true and what parts need to be rewritten. So what is human design? It is a synthesis of Eastern and Western astrology, the Hindu chakra system, the Judaic Kabbalah, and the Chinese I Ching. All of these systems, what they have in common, they are all made up of archetypes. Just like money is an archetype, all of these meaning-making systems are composed of archetypes. They each teach us about the spectrum of potential, both shadow and gift expressions that we experience in the human experience. And the human design chart tells us exactly which archetypal experiences you are designed to express and witness in this lifetime. So let's come back to your tree. Take a look at your tree. The tree you drew at the beginning is a snapshot representation of what kind of stories might be going on in your subconscious mind and energetic levels right now. It can tell us a lot about what sort of stories or meanings are present. So, we're not going to spend too much time, but I'll give you a brief little rundown that you can kind of self-analyze. And as I'm going through these different aspects of what your tree might look like, if something comes up, like if an idea of what this aspect of your tree might be bringing to your attention, jot it down. Just be like, oh, I thought about this situation, or I thought about this, or I thought about this. Okay, so this is just for you. You don't have to share any of this stuff. This is just for you to have some new awareness. So first, we're going to look at the location of your tree on the page. Okay. Is your tree smack in the middle? Is more of your tree, kind of the bulk of your tree, on the left side of the page? Is more of your tree on the right side of the page? Is it like on the right but reaching? Like there's all kinds of different ways it can be composed locationally on the paper. So in general, if your tree tends to be more on the left side of the page, this might be indicative that there's something that you're really focused on from your past. Perhaps you're working through a past trauma, a past memory, a past friendship, a past work situation, something that happened in the past your mind is really fixated on right now. Oppositely, if your tree is way on the right side of the page, might be there's something that you're really thinking about for the future. Maybe you're planning something. Maybe you're worried about something that might happen, that could happen, that hasn't happened yet. If your tree is pretty much right in the middle of the page, then it's more indicative that there's something in this present moment. that you're just really focused on. Maybe it's just you're just really present. I mean, we did, if your tree is in the middle and we drew it right after we did the heart coherent state, there's a high likelihood that your tree would be more in the middle after doing that activity, because it puts you into the present moment, into the here and now. So just some things to think about locationally with your tree. Size wise, how big is your tree on the page? Is it like this big? Is it pretty evenly proportioned, like centered well, none of it's overflowing off the edges? Or is it like, are the branches going off the sides of the page? Are the roots going off the bottom? Is it just taking up the whole page, right? And none of this is good or bad or right or wrong. It's just be curious. So if your tree is really tiny, maybe it could be that you feel small, right? On a very very superficial level. Do you feel small? Do you feel alone? Do you feel isolated? Do you feel like you need more space? What's coming up around the size of your tree if it's really small? If your tree is really big, filling up the whole page, maybe even going off the page, are you feeling, maybe it could be you're feeling really abundant, could be you're feeling really expansive. It could be maybe you're also dealing with issues around boundaries. You taking up, stepping on other people's boundaries, or maybe you not having good boundaries for yourself and really struggling with the boundaries of the page, things like this. If your tree is really well balanced and not really too big, not too small, it's kind of like that Goldilocks kind of size. Maybe there's you're in a really good feeling balanced place. What about the roots? Does your tree have roots? How detailed are your roots? Can you see your roots? How well developed are the roots? And especially in comparison to the branches. Did you spend a lot of time on the roots, but not a lot of time on the branches? Or did you go to the branches first and you forgot to even draw roots? Roots, if you think about like the root chakra, roots are foundations. Roots are stability. What are the roots? Can you see the roots? Are they hidden? Perhaps foundational issues around maybe your physical body or your own physical safety, your food, clothing, shelter, money, all that sort of stuff lives in that root area. Just something to think about with that. When it comes to the branches, are your branches bare? Do they have leaves on them? Do you have apples on the branches? Are your branches going off, like off the page? All these different things. The branches represent like where you're growing and expanding. So what do those look like? How much effort and energy in your drawing did you put into either of those parts of your drawing? And that might be indicative of how much effort and energy, how much you are focused on those areas of life. And again, it's not good or bad or right or wrong. It's just showing you. Okay. So what else is going on in your tree? Is there anything else that you put in your tree? Did you use any other colors? There's a whole list of ways to interpret colors if you did use color, but we're not going to go into that tonight. But since you're unmuted, if you have anything else that your tree was going on, or anything like you wanted to share about your tree, I'm open to hear.
I put only 2 leaves on my tree.
How are your roots?
I didn't make roots.
Didn't make roots. Okay. What does that say to you?
I just thought the roots were underground so you couldn't see them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like maybe some of the foundational stuff, like your basic needs and things, they don't need to be seen. That's okay. It's not, like I said, it's not wrong, it's not right, it's not good or bad. It's just okay. It's covered. It's taken care of, right? It feels like, okay, I got that part. I got it covered. Like we say in the expression.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah, literally. And like to me, like what pops into my mind around like two little leaves, like you're there's hope there. That's what it feels like to me. Like there's new growth starting to pop open, kind of like the first leaves of spring, right? Like just because all the leaves aren't there yet doesn't mean they're not coming. What about you, Em? Did you have anything else?
I think I was also thinking about it being like those are the last two standing. That's more what I was thinking.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Spring and fall are those polar opposites, very similar states.
Mm.
Mm.
And my tree, I have a lot of leaves, but most of them are on the right side, like heading towards the right side of the page. And I have been thinking a lot about my future and like knowing that there's growth to be had now, like leading into the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's like a couple leaves on the left branch.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, most of them are like even like curved to the right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that fascinating? I love all the different trees that come up when I do this exercise and the different things that come up for people and just something to just ponder and take with you. So um so when let's see. So when you consciously decide to start writing the story that you're telling out in the world, as your like tree can show you like what story you may be telling, and you get to decide, do I want to change it or do I want to develop it, right? You can begin to take back your inherent power over what manifests in your reality. You know, in the same way, like with this tree, it's a really great representation of like you created that tree and it was created from these subconscious, you know, stories, these subconscious patterns that are just running without us even thinking about it. So when you take back this power over what you create, you can become limitless. Your imagination is really, really powerful. In the last 10 years, there have been numerous studies that were conducted where neuroscientists have found that the brain doesn't really know the difference between what's real and what's not real. One such study had participants running on a treadmill. They had them hooked up to all kinds of brain imaging sensors, heart rate monitors, all that sort of stuff, and they took all their readings. Then later, they had the same participants sitting in a relaxed state and asked them to just imagine that they were running again, just as they had run earlier, wearing the same clothes in the same room. Guess what happened?
They were sweating.
They had the same, not only did their brain activity look the same, but their heart rate increased and their respiration rate increased. Yes, they started sweating and they were just sitting there. They weren't even actually doing it. So it's like I said, there's so many studies that have done similar things that just show that if you imagine it clear enough and vividly enough, your brain doesn't know difference. There's also tons of emerging science that shows how powerful storytelling really is. When you tell a new empowering narrative, you can change genetic programming. You can heal ancestral trauma in your lineage up to 14 generations forward and backwards. A new narrative can increase your immune response. And this was actually empirical research that was done by my teacher, Karen Curry Parker, who created the StoryLab process. She did research on people who told a disempowering story and measured their immune system response. And guess what? It went down. And then she took them through a process of rewriting that story to where they came out in telling an empowered story. Guess what? their immune system response went up. When you use the template of a hero's journey or a heroine's journey to create your new narrative, it can bring a new sense of meaning and purpose to your life. And creative storytelling has been proven to decrease PTSD response in trauma survivors. So some of the core tenets of the StoryLab process is we get into state of heart coherence. We use vivid imagination. We use storytelling. We have fun. Some other research that's been done on fun. You learn something up to 50% up to 50% faster, and retain the information better when something is fun versus when it's boring. Like, you're going to remember drawing that tree.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I could have shown you a bunch of pictures of trees, but instead drawing the tree, you're going to remember. StoryLab also uses your human design. It uses archetype embodiment, and we tap into your fundamental creativity state. So this Saturday on November 16th, I'm guiding the first ever in-person StoryLab experience that has come to the Syracuse area, where we will claim our main character energy. We will use two of the biggest pieces of our human design, which is our type and our profiles, to create a semi-fictional character that's kind of like loosely based on you, to write a new story about an area of your life where you're having some sort of struggle or pain or stuckness. Each person in the group will get the opportunity to explore the full spectrum of the type and profile as the outline of the story, or the trajectory that the main character takes on a hero's journey outline that starts in the place of struggle and moves into the high potential expression. We will imagine, we will create, we will have fun. We will write a new narrative that will open up the quantum realm of possibilities and fundamental creativity in each of our lives. So thank you so much for being with me for this presentation today. It's just a little bit of the background, some of the science behind what makes StoryLab such a transformational experience. And if you would like to join us, I would love to have you. We already have a group of about 10 that have already signed up. And as always, the more the merrier. It's going to be held at the Center for Sound and Ceremony from 1 to 5 p.m. It's a super cozy space. It's hosted by Megan Thomas and Ines Sante. It's such a great space, and I would love to have you and see you there.